Welcome to Social Aloe Ministries, where we are committed to glorifying God while exposing the devil. Just want to take a few minutes to address the matter of our free will. We often look at free will as our ability to do whatsoever we please. And that is correct to an extent. You see, the Lord gave us free will. And for the most part, it is so that we will freely choose to love Him, that we'll freely choose to seek Him, that we'll freely choose to pursue a relationship with Him. It is not so that we can do evil. After the fall of mankind, or humankind as some people like to say nowadays, still had free will. But the Lord retained the ability to change the circumstances. And quite frankly, sometimes He will turn up the heat in even unpleasant ways to get us to do His will. Because like the Lord's Prayer says, His will be done in earth as it is in heaven. We see an example of this, and I'll give you a few examples. In Genesis 20, Abimelech thought he had taken Abraham's sister, Sarah, who was actually his wife, into his harem. But the Lord appeared to him in a dream and told him that if he did not return that man's wife, that he would be a dead man. Abimelech had a choice. He could keep Sarah or he could return her. He woke up early that morning and returned her. So he had the free will to choose. And basically that was a life or death decision. We see a similar situation with Jonah. Jonah received a message from the Lord. Go to Nineveh and preach to let them know the city would be destroyed in 40 days. Instead, Jonah got in a boat, set sail for Tarshish. The Lord sent a storm after him. The storm threatened to break up the boat. Jonah had to choose. He ended up getting thrown overboard. That saved the boat. But he ended up in the belly of a whale. And it was a dark period for him. And he was there for 3 days. And he cried out to the Lord and he repented. So the fish basically spat him out on dry land. The Lord came back to Jonah, gave him a message. Go to Nineveh and preach. Let them know I will destroy the city in 40 days. Jonah had free will. But based on the circumstances he had gone under, the circumstances as experienced by the Lord, he went to Nineveh and did what the Lord said. There are times when the Lord is truly working out something for your good, and you're going to go through some things. And turning up the heat may be the catalyst that serves to get you towards your destiny. For Joseph, it was very unpleasant. In Genesis 37, he told his family about 2 dreams that he had from the Lord, about how one day they would bow down to him. They didn't like it. His brothers tried to sabotage that dream by throwing him in a pit. They conspired to kill him, but they ended up selling him into slavery instead. So Joseph, he was facing these difficult circumstances. He got sold in slavery. He was falsely accused of a crime, ended up going to prison. The devil may get you in a bind, but the Lord can get you out. So it seemed as if what the Lord had told Joseph wasn't going to come to pass. He was in prison, seemingly probably going to die there. But the Lord affected the circumstances. It is no accident that Pharaoh had sent his cupbearer, also known as butler, and his baker to prison, and that Joseph had an encounter with them after they had both had a dream. Joseph translated both dreams to let the baker know that in 3 days Pharaoh was going to kill him, and in 3 days that he would restore the cupbearer or the butler, and he told the butler to remember him. Of course, the butler forgot about him until 2 years later. Again, the Lord is a sovereign God. He was in charge of circumstances. So even though the cupbearer had forgotten about him, the Lord gave Pharaoh 2 dreams. And he ensured that out of all the people in the land, that Joseph would be the only person who could interpret it. And when the Pharaoh talked about his dreams, then something clicked within the cupbearer, the butler. And he basically admitted that he was at fault for not mentioning Joseph sooner. Pharaoh called up Joseph. Joseph interpreted a dream. The next thing you know, Joseph is Egypt's governor, second in charge, because the Lord also controlled the circumstances where there was going to be a famine. There was going to be 7 years of prosperity, 7 years of famine. And he gave Joseph the knowledge and wisdom to be able to deal with that. And Pharaoh recognized it. And I'll close with another thing, something that's near and dear, especially to a lot of single Christians, relationships. With the story of Ruth and Boaz, we may often think about how they met in a field. But we have to look at the big picture. Because in Ruth chapter 1, it starts where there was a famine in Bethlehem. And you have to wonder, how many people actually did what Naomi and her husband did by moving from Bethlehem to Moab? Then the famine ended, but during this time, Ruth, a Moabitess, had married Naomi's son, Mahlon. But Mahlon died, and they were there for about 10 years. And then Naomi decides to move back to Bethlehem. And she had her other daughter-in-law with her, who was also a widow. And her husband, Chilion, had died too. So you had Ruth and her sister-in-law, Orpah, who were following Naomi back to Bethlehem. But then Naomi encouraged both of them to go back to Moab, where they stand a chance of finding a new man. Orpah was like, okay. And she went back to Moab. But Ruth said she refused to leave her side. She even said that let her God be, or let Naomi's God be her God. And that is how she ended up meeting Boaz. Her story ended up favorably. Her and Boaz got married. And sometimes you truly have to wonder, or it helps to ask how someone comes into your life. Because you'd be amazed at the things the Lord did, particularly when it comes to relationships, to get the right person into your life. It is not always as easy as you think. In some cases, there are some of you who have been waiting for a while and you're in that season of waiting right now, and you're wondering, when is that breakthrough going to come? When is the Lord going to bring you a husband or a wife? When a person does come along, if it is the Lord's intent, not only get to know the person, but get to know how the person came into your life. And if it is truly of God, please thank Him for everything that He did to move that person into your life. When Ruth and Boaz met, it wasn't just because they just happened to be in a field one day. There was famine, there was death. There were all these things that happened before they met, because the Lord is a sovereign God who's in control of the circumstances. So yes, you have free will, but the Lord remains in control of the circumstances. God bless you.